He only stopped for a few groceries. Nothing unusual, nothing wrong. But within minutes, Malik went from being a customer to a suspect. A manager's glare, a quiet whisper, and suddenly, all eyes were on him. The sound of a security radio crackled, and the tension spread like fire. He hadn't done anything, yet the judgment was already made. What happened next inside that store didn't just expose one man's prejudice. It revealed a truth that every black shopper already knew too well. It had been a long week, the kind that wears you down without you realizing it. Malik was tired but content. Another shift finished, another day closer to the weekend. He worked as a delivery driver, the kind of job that demanded patience and long hours. Still, he took pride in it. He liked the routine, the independence, the feeling of earning every dollar with honest work. That Friday afternoon, he decided to stop by the local grocery store, a place he'd visited dozens of times before. It wasn't fancy, just part of his daily rhythm. The same aisles, the same hum of refrigerators, the same cashier who always smiled politely without really looking up. It was ordinary, the kind of ordinary that makes you feel safe. Malik moved slowly through the aisles, checking prices, comparing brands, humming to himself. He didn't notice the subtle glances at first, the quiet shift in energy when he walked by the front counter, or the way an employee paused to whisper near the registers. He wasn't doing anything wrong. Why would he suspect anything? He picked up a carton of milk, a loaf of bread, and a few snacks, nothing that stood out. But as he walked toward the checkout, that quiet normalcy began to crumble. A store manager, clipboard in hand, stepped out from the office near the back, his eyes following Malik with deliberate focus. Malik didn't know it yet, but someone had already decided who he was, not based on what he did, but on what he looked like. And within minutes, that quiet grocery store would turn into a stage for humiliation, fear, and an ugly truth that cameras would later expose to the world. The moment Malik reached the checkout, the shift in the air was almost physical. The cashier's smile vanished into a tight, uneasy line. Two employees near the entrance stopped talking altogether. He could feel eyes on him, not casual glances, but something sharper, something that sliced through the calm of the afternoon. He placed his groceries on the belt, the sound of each item hitting the counter louder than it should have been. Milk, bread, snacks, nothing unusual. But before he could even reach for his wallet, the manager stepped closer, his tone cutting through the silence. "Sir, I'm going to need you to empty your pockets." Malik blinked, confused at first, thinking he'd misheard. "What?" he managed, his voice calm but unsure. The manager crossed his arms. "We received a report of suspicious activity in this aisle," he said, loud enough for nearby shoppers to hear. Heads turned, phones came out. Malik felt the weight of every stare pressing down on him. He tried to explain. He'd just come from work. He hadn't touched anything he hadn't paid for. But it didn't matter. The story was already written in their eyes, and in their silence. A security guard appeared beside the manager, one hand resting on his belt, the other motioning Malik away from the register. "Sir, we just need to check." The phrase sounded polite, but there was no kindness in it. "No respect." Malik's chest tightened. He could feel his pulse hammering against his ribs as the world around him slowed down. Every movement, every whisper, every look carried the same message. "You don't belong here." They led him to the side near the front window, right where everyone could see. The humiliation burned hotter than fear. He could see a little boy tugging at his mother's hand, asking, "What did he do?" The woman didn't answer. She just stared. Malik opened his jacket, turned out his pockets, even lifted his sleeves. Nothing, just his phone, wallet, and car keys. But the manager didn't look convinced. He leaned toward the guard and muttered something. Malik couldn't hear it, but he could read the disbelief in his eyes. Then came the worst part. The pause. That moment where they both stood there, looking at him, trying to find guilt that wasn't there. "Let's check the bag," the manager said flatly. Malik lifted it from the counter. Receipts in plain view, every item scanned, every dollar accounted for. Still, the man sifted through it like he was digging for proof that didn't exist. Finally, the manager's tone shifted, quieter now, but not apologetic. "All right, you can go. No, sorry. No explanation. Just dismissal." Like the damage done to his dignity didn't matter. Malik stood there for a second, unsure whether to be angry or relieved. He looked around the store, at the faces that had judged him, at the cameras above that had watched everything unfold. He could feel something inside him change, the quiet turning into resolve. He walked out slowly, heart pounding, hands trembling, the sound of the automatic doors echoing like a verdict. What he didn't know was that those same cameras would soon tell the truth, and the story they revealed would expose not just the manager's lie, but a culture of bias that had been hiding in plain sight. By the time Malik reached his car, the weight of what had just happened pressed down on him like a stone. His hands trembled on the steering wheel, not from guilt, but from humiliation. The looks, the whispers, the accusation that would follow him home even after the store lights went dark. He sat there for a long time, trying to steady his breathing, watching the automatic doors open and close. The manager walked by the window, laughing with another employee, carefree, untouched, as if nothing had happened. That night, Malik couldn't sleep. He replayed the moment over and over again in his mind. The words, the stares, the way the security guard's hand hovered near his belt. He knew what that gesture meant. He'd seen too many headlines that ended with a man like him not making it home. But this time, the story wasn't over. The next morning, his phone buzzed. A local community page had posted a video. Grainy security footage from inside the store leaked anonymously. Malik clicked play. There it was. Every second. Every movement. The clip showed Malik calmly shopping, paying for his items, and then being confronted without reason. The audio captured the manager's voice accusing him, and the silence that followed when nothing was found. Within hours, the video spread, first across social media, then into the news. Comments flooded in, anger, disbelief, solidarity. People recognized the store, the manager's face, the injustice, and for the first time, Malik didn't feel invisible. The truth that had humiliated him in private was now exposed in public. Reporters reached out. Activists shared his story. The company released a statement, too late, too careful, calling it a misunderstanding. But everyone could see what it really was. Malik didn't ask for fame. He only wanted fairness. But now, standing outside that same store days later, cameras pointed at him for a different reason. He realized sometimes justice doesn't come quietly. It comes with the sound of truth replayed for everyone to see. In the weeks that followed, the video changed everything. The store faced protests. Customers stopped coming. The manager who once spoke with authority now hid behind press statements and locked doors. Corporate headquarters issued an apology, scripted, rehearsed, and painfully late. But Malik's story had already traveled further than their words ever could. Community leaders reached out, not for headlines, but for healing. Malik spoke quietly at a town hall meeting, not as a victim, but as a man who wanted things to change. He talked about what it felt like to be treated as guilty first and human second, about how a simple trip for groceries turned into a moment that revealed the truth behind so many others. The crowd listened, some with anger, others with shame. Because deep down, everyone knew this wasn't just about one store or one man. It was about a pattern, a cycle, where bias hides behind policy, and dignity gets lost between suspicion and silence. Malik didn't seek revenge. He sought accountability. The store replaced its manager, trained its staff, and installed new leadership. But Malik knew that justice wasn't about punishment. It was about awareness, about making sure the next black man walking into a store wouldn't be treated like a threat for existing. Months later, he still shopped for his groceries, but not at that place. And when people recognized him from the video, he didn't feel embarrassed anymore. He felt seen, because sometimes change doesn't come from anger, it comes from exposure. The truth doesn't need to shout, it just needs to be shown. And as Malik's story fades from the headlines but lives on in hearts, one question remains. How many more cameras will it take for the world to finally see what's been in plain sight all along? Don't miss more powerful real-life stories. Hit subscribe now.